Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons Insurance, National Parts Depot and Penrite Oil.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Classic Restos. Of course, not possible without the continued support from Shannons Insurance, National Parts Depot and Penrite Oil. When it comes time for the very best in classic vehicle, home and contents insurance, even your classic motorcycle, you can't go past Shannons Insurance. Why not pick up the phone and give Shannons a call for a quote on 134646. Their website is also very interesting and comprehensive. You can find out more when you visit shannons.com.au. And whilst you're there, why not sign up and become a member of the Shannons Club? When it comes time to rebuild your American-built classic, such as this 1968 Shelby Mustang, you cannot go past National Parts Depot. National Parts Depot have been established since 1976. They have a 3 million parts inventory. They ship to Australia and New Zealand every day of the week, and you can find out more when you visit them online at npdlink.com. Time for oils and coolants. Penrite Oil is the best in the business, an Australian-owned company and has been established since 1926. It doesn't matter how big, how small, how old or how new, Penrite Oil has an oil for you. Find out more at penriteoil.com.au. Now on today's show, it's a little bit of a mixture. Firstly, I have travelled to regional Victoria to catch up with a guy by the name of Kevin at the Shepparton Motor Museum. But firstly, here's a little bit of information about this amazing collection. The Shepparton Motor Museum is home to over 60 classic, heritage and muscle cars, including motorcycles and vintage bicycles. All of the vehicles you see here have been generously loaned for display from not only around Shepparton and the Goulburn Valley, but right across Australia and regional Victoria. The vehicles on display are also complemented by a wide range of petrol memorabilia, including enamel signs, petrol bowsers, oil cans and bottles, and many other items that'd look great in any man cave. The exhibits are regularly refreshed and rotated to ensure there is something new and exciting for first-time and returning visitors, and like most museums, is operated as a non-for-profit entity which will donate funds to various charities throughout the Shepparton region. Here we go, have the pleasure now of having Kevin back on the show. How are you, Kevin?
Good, thank you, Fletch. Good to see you again.
Thanks very much, mate. Likewise. Now tell us, you've got two glorious Holdens here. What's the reason behind it? Why are we here?
Well, we're here because these E.H. Holdens were part of a display here at Shepparton. It's now 50 years since the E.H. Holden rolled off the assembly line on the 1st of August 1963, and as a result of that, these two beauties are here on display now.
And you're the proud owner.
I'm the proud owner. One of them is very special in as far as it was my father's car, and the other one is one that I acquired many years ago now too.
Okay, well first of all, what an absolute pleasure it must be for you to have the honour to have these two lovely Holdens in this fantastic museum. And let's have a look at this place for a sec. I mean, here at Shepparton, they do great things for the public. It's so professionally represented. I can see why you chose this as the museum for your two Holdens.
Well, this is a beautiful location for it. It's you know, a beautiful museum, and I think this is a really great spot to display them.
Absolutely. Well, okay, well, we are here. We've got a EH ute, and we have this wonderful old original station wagon. Start with the ute first. Give us a rundown on that, Kevin.
Okay, well, the ute was bought by my father in I think about 1965, 66. It wasn't bought brand new, but it was not very old. Bought through GM Smith Motors, and I think it was originally a government utility. Dad bought it, and we were very, very excited when Leo Smith, our cousin from GM Smith Motors in St Arnaud, he arrived with this utility, and it was like, wow, this is just fantastic, our beautiful E.H. Holden. I always wanted an E.H. Holden as a kid, so it was very special. And it was a ute that never left the property.
Great model, the E.H. I mean, one of my favourite Holdens too. And just as a matter of fact, around 500,000 E.H. Holdens were made. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's 253,000 roughly E.H. Holdens produced from 1963 to, I think, 1965.
Yeah, around 250,000 then. Oh, well. But They were very popular. I mean, I could remember as growing up as a kid in the 70s, the P-plate drivers, they were getting around with their wide dish steely rims, E.H. Holden, and if they could do an E.H. with P-plates, they were laughing.
That's right. They were kind of like the ultimate car to have. And you had Holden at that time had produced an S4 model, which is a really souped-up one that they actually raced at Bathurst. But it didn't look that much different to the car that your father drove around the streets.
Yep.
And the 179 was a revolutionary, so the power was just extraordinary.
Still can't believe those stories, but I know they're true. No wonder they call it Conrod Straight. I mean, the S4's 200 kilometres an hour, 120 miles an hour, 179, as I just alluded to earlier as well, the deep dish steely wheels. Oh, how'd those boys do it back in the days of Beachy?
Well, I kind of think, if you look at the vehicle now and you look at the speeds, all those things that you mentioned, Fletch, and you think those men were incredibly brave.
A lot of engines went too, and hence the concept of Conrod Straight. Now, the restoration process on the ute, how long has it taken you, Kevin?
The restoration took about, I'd say probably 5 years, and it went back. It had gone from, being used as a farm ute to being relegated to area down the back paddock where it just sat in the hot sun and baked and then got wet and soaked in the winter time. A few parts taken off it, and it was kind of like pretty much a wreck when I got it. So much so, Fletch, that when I was bringing it over to the panel beaters, I had it on the back of a truck, and a fellow said to me, pulling up at the petrol station, he said, where's that going? And I said, the bloke who owns this is getting it restored. And he goes, he must have more money than sense. It's a heap of junk. Who would be bothered with that? I didn't have the courage to tell him I was the idiot that was going to do it.
Mate, that takes us now to the station wagon. The station wagon, in my opinion, all it's missing there is a set of roof racks and surfboards on top of it.
Well, this is a pretty amazing station wagon. This particular one is body number 35, so it's very, very early. And it's a very rare EH Premier station wagon because it's got factory-fitted manual transmission. Most of them came out with auto transmission, and this one also has got a lot of accessories on it that like it's got the handrail and the Venetians and a lot of accessories that when you ordered your Holden you would have had to order those as special features as well. It was interesting too, Fletch, with this one because when I rang up the fellow, he lived in Hampton Park, and I said to him, what colour is it? Because I was desperately after a Portsea blue Premier station wagon. He said it's green. I thought, well, that's okay. I'll get a green one and I might get a blue one. When I went down there, to my delight, it was the Portsea blue.
Are you going to do anything in the restoration side with this, or just leave it as is?
There's always two trains of thought as to to leave a car completely original or to restore it. I sort of have the idea that I'd like to restore it. It has got a bit of rust in it. You can see in the doors and that sort of stuff. It's got a little bit of well, for a girl that's 50-year-old, I mean, there's going to be a few wrinkles and a few blemishes, so why not? But look, I think I'd like to restore it back to original condition.
Kevin, it was just so wonderful you turning up here today, being back on the show and showing us your two EH Holdens. Just amazing, mate.
Well, thank you, Fletch. It's always great to share the passion with you with my old Holdens, whatever. And I'm glad that you've had a great day here as well.
Thanks very much.
And thank you for that, Fletch. And I'd like to thank Shannons Insurance, NPD and Penrite Oils as well. It's been a great day, and let's just keep on holding on.
Kevin, thank you so much for those nice words. To find out more information about the major sponsors, go to classicrestos.com.au. Thanks, buddy.
Good. Thank you very much, Fletch. Bye now.
I don't want to sound negative, but it's hard not to reminisce when you see these old cars. 1963 E.H. Holden. Australian design, Australian built. Built by Australians and exported. It was a time when car manufacturers displayed their badges with pride. Curvy lines, stainless steel, Venetian blinds, innovative thinking, simplicity, practicality. In a time when buying a brand new car meant something. The neighbours would come on over and take a look. A time when a brand new car could well remain in the family forever. Our Australian car manufacturers are on the rocks, and it's just so sad. We can wind our clocks back, but we will never get that era back. I hope you're really enjoying this week's episode of Classic Restos here at the Shepparton Motor Museum. Of course, a big thanks to Shannons Insurance, National Parts Depot and Penrite Oil. Back with more in just a moment. Welcome back. What a great episode this is. Every episode's good, but we've got Graham here at the Shepparton Motor Museum, the curator. How are you, mate?
Good, thanks, Fletch. How are you?
Good, thank you. This is beautiful here.
Thank you. We think so, and it's nice to hear it from others.
Mate, tell us about the museum.
Well, it's thanks to two generous Shepparton businessmen. The Motor Museum opened in December 2011. We change theme every 3 months.
Mate, what a cool place. A lot of us get up of a morning, we go to an office. You got an office here too, but I mean, mate, what a cool place to come to work.
It's a very cool place to come to work. I don't spend too much time in the office, out on the floor here, cleaning cars or getting cars in or out. It's it's a nice job to have.
I think it's great. We look at some of our early cars back in the time when people would never have thought that one day they'd be in a museum. We've emphasised on Kevin's E.H. Holdens here today, just two great old cars here. You've got a range right across the board, some European, American, and of course some Australian. We have German, we have some DAC in here as well. It's great stuff. One thing that I'm very interested in is the old bikes over there. What's going on there?
We're part of the Shepparton Motor Museum. We keep push bikes, motorbikes, pedal cars, as you're aware. And we're very lucky or fortunate to have the Garth Wallace collection here, which Garth passed away in November 2011. And the family have kindly loaned us his collection, which is fantastic.
I think it's pretty handy for people that have got too many cars and may think, well, where are we going to put this one? Oh yeah, we'll throw it over there at the museum.
It can be a bit like that. Yeah, some people you try and use this as a storage facility. But like I say, as we change the floor around quite regularly, so it's only short-term storage.
Yeah. What would be one of your personal favourites, Graham?
A bit of a mixture. I've sort of grown up with vintage cars, got veteran motorbikes myself, vintage cars and muscle cars, so it's every day I'm dreaming about something different.
From the days when you were a little guy, always into cars?
Yeah, it's been a family. My grandfather and father were both founding members of our local car club and life members. And just, always grown up around petrol and oil, any motors, stationary engines, tractors, cars, trucks.
I think the legacy is just so strong. I mean, it's getting stronger and stronger. I mean, to have a museum that showcases these cars the way that you guys do here, it's a very professional level. I mean, there's a lot of museums overseas in the United States that I've been to as well. They're on a grander scale in terms of size, but when it comes back to presentation, the cleanliness, the way that the vehicles are presented, you guys are here at Shepparton, mate. You're up there.
We've done a good job, you reckon?
Yeah, you certainly have.
Thanks very much. It's nice to hear. Yeah, we pride ourselves and we think we've got a fantastic museum here to offer people. We're not one make or model. We try and keep a timeline of every decade where possible. We're also very supportive of our sponsorship through Shannons and Penrite. The place obviously wouldn't survive without some outside investment, which makes the place tick along and can keep the doors open for everybody.
Absolutely, and also major sponsors of the TV show. See them at classicrestos.com.au. Now, Graham, the museum in all its exuberance, tell us the opening hours and how do people find you?
We're open 7 days a week, 10 till 4:30. You can find us on we've got a website and a Facebook page, and we're on the Goulburn Valley Highway, Kyalla.
Drop the website, mate. What is it?
SheppartonMotorMuseum.com.au.
Good guess. Good on you, buddy.
Thanks, Fletch. Thanks very much for coming.
That's right. Thanks, Graham. ClassicRestos.com.au. That's the website that you need to find out more information about the major sponsors. And also, perhaps you may be considering a Fletch tour for 2014 to the beautiful state of Pennsylvania, United States of America. Carlisle Events, GM, Ford and Chrysler. And also a fourth trip is available to Detroit, the Motown capital, for the Woodward Dream Cruise. To find out more information, go to the website classicrestos.com.au. Back with more in just a moment. On today's show, I thought I'd bring you something extra special to add to the mix. Welcome, David Beale.
Welcome to you too, Fletch.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me here.
It's a pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
You are hidden away here. You're a private car collector. Yeah. You love your American cars. Yeah. Tell me, when did the bug first bite you?
Would have been about 1990. I went to a car show at the Kingston Centre, just opposite Shannons in Warrigal Road, and there was a 79 Corvette there, and this guy had just restored it. We made a deal, and I bought this 79 Corvette off him, and the next week there was a car, the Chevrolet Car Club had their annual show and shine up at Echuca. The next morning I got up and took the car down to the showgrounds and put it in the show, and the next morning I took off early And about a week later, I got a phone call from this bloke, and he said, Dave Beale? I said, yeah. He said, you've won first prize with your Corvette. And I said, you're joking? And he said, you're coming up this way to collect the trophy. And I said, no, mate, it's a bit far to come. He said, well, I'll throw it on the train, and you can pick it up at Frankston Station. So I went down and picked up my trophy. So that was the start of it all.
So the disease bit, and it hasn't gone away. In fact, it's increased.
It's got worse, mate. Yeah. I'm a sick man.
You are.
Yeah.
And the antidote is just to keep on getting more cars, right?
Yeah. It's a fix.
Now, David, we've travelled around about just over an hour from the Shepparton Motor Museum. We could be anywhere here in the United States. The rainforest around you here, we could be in any part of Missouri. We look out there across the field. We've got you've got your American cars lined up. The presentation here, mate, I have to give you 10 out of 10.
Thanks very much, Fletch. It's a pleasure, mate. Yeah, thank you.
When I walked through the yard, one car that just took me away was the 74 Cruiser. Yeah. Tell us about this wagon. When you think of a wagon, you might not think much of a station wagon, but when they're as opulent as this and the way that they're detailed, made back in the day, what's going on there with this car?
Well, I bought it out of California. I saw the car on eBay, and I bid on it and won it. Anyway, I rang the guy who we're still in touch with. He sent me some pics of the car, and in the background was that Oldsmobile Toronado. So I asked him how much he wanted for that as well. And
you're a greedy bloke, aren't you, Dave?
Yeah, I'm a greedy bugger. Anyway, we settled on the deal, and I ended up with his custom cruiser station wagon and his Oldsmobile Toronado two-door coupe. So that car is a really remarkable car. It's got 3 rows of seats, and in the back it's got like a dicky seat or two seats, and it's got a sort of a little table where the kids can draw. You know, it folds down. They can draw their pictures while they're driving along.
The 455, they just do a beautiful job, don't they?
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful, mate.
Turbo 400 transmission.
Yeah, turbo 400. Yeah. And the feature of the back of the car has got a clamshell back, where the rear window goes up into the roof, and the tailgate goes underneath the car.
Couldn't make a car like this now. Couldn't make one. I mean, if you wanted to buy that car now brand new, it's going to sound ridiculous, but it'd be pushing $1 million.
Yeah, unbelievable. But the thing is, with Aussies, they don't appreciate American cars.
Some do.
Well, some do, but a lot don't. You know, they're into their Aussie cars, and you can drive an XP Falcon down the street and no one's going to take any notice of it. I can drive that into town, mate, and I've got a crowd.
Oh, I know. I think with due respect too, I think we tend to remember what we grew up with, and that can go back to families, like with uncles and aunties and the nans and the pops, and maybe the old Holden they used to drive. Myself personally, I think because we were bombarded with a lot of American television back in the 60s, early 70s, you grew up watching television with seeing these massive cars and thinking, wow, well, you know, we don't have those here.
No, you don't. It's great to see I like watching the old films, you know, where they've got, you know, you can pick all the cars, and they're all American cars. And it's parking lots with, you know, 20-footers everywhere. It's just.
I mean, they're totally ridiculous when you think about it. I mean, a car 20 foot long, a 7-litre V8 engine to take one bloke to work.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's the bizarreness of the whole thing, and I think it makes it so much extra fun. Now, speaking of fun, we've got this big 2-door Toronado. What an incredible car. Now, give us the rundown mechanically on that car.
Yeah. Well, it's got a 455. Now, people don't realise that that's built on the chassis of the Cadillac Eldorado.
Same door trims too as the Buick Electra.
Yeah, unbelievable, isn't it? You just can't believe that. And it's got a flat floor. You've got no transmission tunnel because the car's front-wheel drive. Yes. Yep. And it really does grip the road. You think, I can throw that into a corner at, you know, 100 k's, and it just... You know, it just goes around like it's on rails.
And when you're talking like a 2,200 kilo car, I mean, putting anything into a corner, it's like putting a shipping container into a corner, isn't it?
It is.
Interesting with the front wheel drive too, because Eldorado, about the only step they had up was a 500 cubic inch advantage, because Cadillac being the top of the mark. Yeah. But 455 front wheel drive, only limited editions too. They didn't run the front wheel drives for many years, did they?
They didn't. No. That's what makes the car so rare. You know, and it's just a pleasure to drive.
Original interiors on these cars too. What I like about these top-end cars is the fact that the people that chose to buy these cars didn't choose to do high miles. No. And it's quite often you'll find these cars with 30,000 original miles or 74,000 original miles. Yeah. I mean, with a few little mechanical tweaks and some gasket replacements, cooling systems, radiators, you do a bit of work there, you've got yourself virtually a brand new car.
You have. And then parts are readily available. You think, you buy a 70s car, you think, oh, you'll never get parts from it. But people don't realise that a lot of these parts are interchangeable. That in the GM range, you can buy a Buick or a Pontiac, and you'll get the same bits and pieces.
Well, a guy told me years ago about the only thing compatible with the 1974 Buick Electra that I had and a HQ Holden was the idler arm. but we're going Australian market car up against American built. But that was an interesting scenario. Behind us we have this gorgeous Chev. Now that's a picture in the paddock on its own there, Dave. What's the story on that car?
Fletch, what I like about this car is that the lines on it, it's just a classic. That and the 59 Chev are two of my favourite cars. The shape of them is just fantastic. It's got a 283 V8 in it. It's not,
you could be doing 30 miles an hour in that car, David. Right. It wouldn't matter. You could pop a little 186 in it, and you could still go down the road, and you'd still get the crowd.
That's right. You still get the crowd.
I mean, and what I like about what you've got, you've got the base model car in terms of the Chevrolet, and you've worked yourself right up to the top end cars. The later model cars, I guess, being more opulent with their interiors, they became heavier. But you know what you've got here is just a great cross section.
It is fantastic. Another thing, it's only got a 2-speed auto in it too, which is quite remarkable. You'd think there wouldn't be too much acceleration in it, but you know, it gets going. You know,
130 kilometres an hour in low.
Yeah, that's true too. They really hang in there, that first gear. But it's just a great cruiser, and wherever you go, it attracts attention, and the colour schemes of them. You know, the colours in those days. You know, some of the dealers, some of the cars today, start to get their act together with their colour schemes, but go back into those days where the beautiful, you know, rose pinks and you know, the turquoises. And
we said earlier on today's show that these cars were built back in a time, not just in Australia, America, I guess around the world, back in 50s and 60s, where all car manufacturers wore their badges with pride. They designed the cars with image in mind. It was an extension of your own persona, the type of vehicle that one used to buy.
Yeah, it's true too, isn't it? It's just great to have them, you know.
Well, not as great as having you on today's show, Dave. I really appreciate the invitation here and showcasing just some of your cars. And I'll tell you now, we could do an entire episode of Classic Restos here at Dave's place. But it's a bit of a toe in the water, this episode, just to whet the appetite of the viewers, and we might have you back on the show a little bit down the track.
Thanks very much, Fletch. Thank you. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you've really enjoyed this week's episode of Classic Restos. What a bonus, a museum and a private collection. Don't forget too that classicrestos.com.au is the website that you need for the DVD boxed sets of the show and other Classic Restos merchandise. To find out how the major sponsors can help you, and of course the Fletch Tours for 2014. Until next week, no matter where you're watching the show from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, and I thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like Classic Restos on Facebook. Facebook.com/Classic Restos TV. And episodes can be seen at Shannons.com.au. Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons Insurance, National Parts Depot and Penrite Oil.